time we chatted, we talked a lot about your hopes for the downtown and a strategic plan to make that a desirable place for people to shop and spend money, and a great thriving environment for businesses. And I'm going to ask you about parking now. So how does this new suggestion that we might perhaps be scrapping the 2-hour free parking lots downtown fit into what we chatted about last time?
That's a very good question. So I'm gonna be very honest and say that I haven't been involved in this issue to much of a degree. Obviously, it's going to require my attention soon because it's going to come to council. But I want to really make clear to people what's happening here is that council passed a resolution just to look into the parking matters. So we're going through a process now through city staff, and it's being led by Councillor Shoemaker, and we're consulting. So I think people are really taken aback and quite, annoyed by the suggestion we might get rid of the 2-hour free parking. But it's a consultation, and I think that the community to some degree is asking us to consult. So when we go out there to consult, the community should recognize that we haven't made a decision to do this. Like, we're going out to really see what you think. And it's becoming apparent what people think, to me in any event. And that
82% said no.
Yeah.
Don't take away our free parking.
So we have that information now. That committee is going to come back to council, and council is going to make a decision. So there's been no decision on this 2-hour parking. But we've heard what a lot of people have to say, and that'll come back to council and we'll decide on it. So I generally kind of reserve my opinion until I have all the reports and I get to read through all the reports, and I get to kind of ask my own questions and figure out what I think the best thing to do is. I think it's early on this one, but to me it's pretty apparent that there's a high demand for it. To be clear though, I think it's positive. One, that Councillor Shoemaker wanted to look into something, right? And see if there was a better way to do it. And two, that we're going out and consulting. So I think the community should see this process as a real positive thing, because we're asking everybody what they think before we make a decision. And I want to see city councillors looking into this. And I want to see city councillors kind of challenging the status quo. Because again, we know where the status quo brings us. And we might challenge the status quo in this and determine the status quo is exactly where we should be.
Well, you mentioned you don't want to share your opinion before you read the reports, etc. But if I just said to you, do you think taking away free parking downtown will help improve our downtown? What would you say?
I would have to say that I don't think it would. There was a levy that was paid by the downtown merchants that would defray some of these costs. And that levy was taken out, I think in 2005.
2005,
yeah. So the city's been bearing that cost. And so the taxpayers of the city have been paying that money. So you pay it one way or you pay it the other, right? You pay it on your tax bill or you pay it when you actually use the service. And I think what motivated this was there's a lot of movement towards user pay. So if I'm going to use the parking, I pay for the parking. If I'm not going to use the parking, I don't pay for the parking. But there are some things that are essential to the community. And it's become clear to me that a large part of the community wants a healthier, active downtown core. So as a city council, we have to ask ourselves, what do we need to do to create that healthier, active downtown core? It's not necessarily about free parking, it's about creating that active and healthy downtown.
So it could be considered an investment, really, in the downtown if the city decided to continue to pay that $190,000.
That's a value and goal of the city, to improve the downtown. If that's what the city wants to do, and certainly something I'd like to see happen, then yeah, you make investments in it.
A couple people suggested when I was reading through, I always have to read through the comments before I talk to you so that I can raise some of our citizens' concerns.
I understand that.
A couple people suggested that the city employees pay for parking versus paid parking at 2-hour lots.
I think that is a very valid suggestion. Our city employees don't pay for parking when they come to work, and it is something that certainly is worth considering doing. And I have to admit, that isn't the first time I've heard that suggestion, and I've heard some discussion about that. I would certainly like to see that discussion kind of go a bit further, and I expect it will.